Welcome to Life Her Podcast, the podcast that guides you from the 9-to-5 grind to the freedom of your own path. Discover how to conquer life's challenges while pursuing your passions with unwavering faith. Because being an entrepreneur is not easy. So let's get to it.
Hey everyone, I am Yvette Lloyd, host of Life Her Podcast. On this episode of Life Her Podcast, I am joined by Tyaisha Dillon, and she is a passionate brain health advocate, entrepreneur, and a founder of the Thriving Brain and Development Project. From her roots, from being from Louisiana, and to overcoming the challenges of living in a young onset of just doing so much into her journey of being resilient, purposeful, and empowering. Today, she is sharing how she experienced and shaped her mission to rise awareness in underserved communities, build wellness brands, and inspire others to thrive through adversity. So let's dive in. Hi, Tyaisha. How are you?
I'm doing well. That introduction took me back. Thank you. It was so powerful for that introduction. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Sometimes it's good to hear your praise and hear what you've done, because a lot of times we do it and we be so passionate about it, and then reality doesn't set in until someone end up just naming all of this stuff you've done. You're like, that's me?
Yes. You know what's so interesting? I had a counselor, and I guess we can get into this discussion a little bit later, but I had a counselor. I decided to have counseling before I had brain surgery to get myself in the best headspace to endure it. And he was like, do you realize, have you just taken the time to realize how much you've done? And I was like, no. So yes, that is true.
Yes, it is so true. So we're going to take it back, and I want to say, how did like growing up in Louisiana shape your values and fuel of your passion and advocacy?
That's a good question. My parents, my dad is from Augusta, Georgia, so he's a Georgia boy. And my mom is a Louisiana lady. So she grew up in Opelousas, Louisiana, and she was heavily influenced by agriculture. Her parents were sharecroppers. My dad's parents were also sharecroppers. So they had some knowledge of agriculture. And so they came together at Southern University, which is an agricultural college, and they met and fell in love and got married. And so in raising us, they instill these lovely values like integrity, sustainability, service. So those are the three values that resonate through our family. And ever since I can remember, I've always volunteered. I have always done something that was entrepreneurial, because my mom's degree was in business marketing management. So I had like a little can hustle. I used to collect cans on the side of the road and go sell them, crush them and sell them. And then I always can remember my parents being like sustainable. We had a little compost thing in the backyard. My parents had a huge garden. And then my parents also made soap. So they made soap, and then my friends, for some unknown reason, because I do feel like I had bad acne growing up at some point in time, but they were like, your face looks so good. So they would come to my house and buy my parents soap, because they felt that that's the reason why my face looked good. And I do admit that it did clear it up. So yeah. Okay. So those are like, growing up in Louisiana played a huge role in how I live my life now. And also, I want to make another point, because I think this is rare. My husband also grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, but he had a different experience. You know, my parents did a really good job of establishing a community for us. We had a, what do you call it? A village. We had a village.
Yeah.
And I mean, they kept you in check. Like a lot of my parents' friends went to Southern University or surrounding universities. So they knew these people. So if I would be out in public acting up, oh yes, my parents would hear about it. So we had this checks and balances thing. I grew up going to people's houses. I spent a lot of time at slumber parties. We had parties at the Catholic Church to raise money for their CCD classes. We had a good time, let me tell you. And Like in rearing my son, I am trying to establish the same thing for him, because there's benefit to having family outside of a family environment.
That is so true. And
Yes.
it's ironic that you brought that up because that's how I was raised too.
Hmm.
And my family, we are like extremely close. Like we are
Yes.
very close and all I know is love.
Yes.
So once I started doing a lot of things, giving back to the community and you know, just blessing others from me being blessed, I've realized that a lot of people weren't raised like me because I was
Yes.
around it so much of so much love. And then I started to see another side of people, and it was like a culture shock for me
Yes.
to even go through things. And it's still like that till this day because
Mhm.
it's hard to understand why people are so hateful and stuff like that. And we see that it's so much more to life itself than actually being, not feeling loved.
That is so true. I think about the environment I grew up in, and guess what? The love is so strong that we meet every Christmas, like every
Yes.
Christmas holiday. My friends from my high school, we get together. So and then my girlfriends have this group in Baton Rouge. Every month they get together, and if I happen to be in town, I'll plug in. So like that's how strong our friendship and our relationships are. But to your point, when you come outside the bubble, sometimes there's lessons to be learned. I know my hardest lessons were learned when I was an undergrad, because I was like, wait, everybody's not like this bubble I've been in, and you can't
Yeah,
trust everybody. And those lessons are hard to learn, and they don't feel good, but it's a part of life.
it definitely is.
Yes. So I get you.
Yes. So you
Yes.
mentioned that shadowing a lawyer at the age of 13 sparked your passion and advocacy. Can you share more about that experience on how it shaped your career path?
So I actually wanted to be a lawyer, like maybe slash politician when I was younger. And so my mom knew this student from LSU, and I confronted the student and told them my aspirations. And they said, well, you're a little young to work for us and get paid, but you can volunteer. So I actually worked at the state capitol at 14 and
Okay.
as a volunteer. And I worked my way up through the ranks until I was a legislative assistant. And it was a wonderful experience because I learned a lot about the democratic process, and how laws are made and passed. And it also let me learn about it made me aware of our influence as citizens that we don't necessarily take advantage of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm speaking from the perspective of, you can call your senator or congressperson and express a concern about something, but I don't think we always do that.
No.
And so just that kind of sparked my interest. And so fast forward, my degrees are in totally something kind of different. Environmental management is my first degree, and I have a concentration in finance and marine ecology. And then my second degree is biosystems engineering technology. But in those degrees, there's the ability to advocate for water resources and soil resources and things like that. So I kept that theme in my career journey. But yes, working at the state capitol was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
That's good, especially what you can learn so much. Even with you going into the field of environmental management and biosystem engineering, you still learned a lot from that shadowing process. You see the back end of it too.
Yes, environmental impact statements. That
Yes,
play, yeah, definitely, definitely.
yes. So you were diagnosed with a young onset of Parkinson's disease while in school. How did that diagnose impact your educational journey, and did it push you through the adversity that you face?
So this is a part of my story that I have to like clarify because it is so confusing. But
Okay.
I was not diagnosed actually in school, and this is
Okay.
the part that's huge, right? I was diagnosed 13 years later.
Oh,
So
wow.
at 21, I had my first symptom of Parkinson's, and that was
Oh,
when I was in grad school. I was very, very lethargic. My body was very heavy. I could barely push myself up when I was in the bed to turn myself around. And I was like, oh, that's nothing. I'm just tired. Because, I mean, it didn't seem like it was that limiting at the time. But then it progressed as time went on. But um, I had 13 horrible years of the symptoms getting worse, but no resolution as far as the diagnosis. And that's the point where we kind of talk about health equity and
mhm.
disparities. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So living with Parkinson's disease is the journey of consistent adaptation.
Oh
What
yes.
what have been some of your biggest challenges in managing your symptoms while pursuing and demanding a career?
Well, especially since the 13 years were mostly like me cultivating a new career, nobody knows me,
Mm.
and trying not to appear flaky or anything like that. And that actually started in grad school. I had a
Oh,
professor that thought that I was lazy in my engineering class because I wasn't doing the best. I was like doing C work. And he was like, he thought I was lazy. And so I was just like defeated. So I just dropped the class and took it again when I felt like I was feeling better. And it actually was after I came back from an internship with the Forest Service. I was doing a lot of walking in the woods, which note to self, that was like very helpful in my journey of Parkinson's because the more I was active in the woods, I kind of reversed the illness and I
oh,
started not feeling the symptoms as much. And so when I came back, I had more energy and I started working out more at University of Tennessee. And I took the class and he was like, he had to call me when I took my finals because I made the highest score and he had to apologize. But getting back to the struggles and adaptation, one of the things is like when I would go out in the field with a group of employees and my muscles would cramp up. It was very painful, but I had to push through that and act like nothing was wrong and just be like, oh, I'm going to tie my shoe. I'll catch up with y'all and hope that the muscle cramps subside, which usually it did because it's the earlier stage of the illness. And we
mhm.
now know that that muscle cramping was dystonia as well. But I mean, I just had to be prepared for any symptom that reared its head concerning Parkinson's because Parkinson's is not a steady state disease. The
Yeah.
symptoms are, I think some people have like they have hallucinations and with Dylan. So there's a lot of symptoms that people can have concerning Parkinson's. Luckily, I feel that I've warded off most of them and been able to manage most of them by exercising and mindfulness and diet. But you
Wow.
have to be adaptable. And then throw a child on top of that, that's a whole nother story.
Ooh, ooh-wee. So there's a lack of understanding and awareness around the brain health in underserved communities. What
Yes.
misconceptions do you think people have about brain health, and how can we start changing that narrative?
So I think misconceptions are that there's no such thing as brain health. It's like I don't feel like we understand that it's something that's really significant. Even talking to my child who's 11 years old, I'm like, you got to go to bed at a certain time because your brain needs to replenish itself at night. I mean, the concept is like they just don't get it.
Yeah.
And until you lose something that you're blessed with.
That.
Like, let me just paint a picture for you. When you're a kid and you're getting dressed or you're running, do you say lift up your right leg, lift up your left leg? No, you don't. You just run. You just put on your clothes. For the first time in my life, when I was in South Carolina after I had gotten home from field work, I couldn't get out the bathtub. I had to literally wheel myself out the bathtub. I had to say, lift my body up. 1, 2, 3, lift to get
Mm.
out of the bathtub. I mean, to have to live your life like that and know that you have had the gift of instant, your body instantly responding to what you wanted to do, to taken away, you think of life totally different, and you just want to help the loved ones around you understand. Hey, your brain is precious, and you have to do these things to maintain it.
Yes, that is so true. And before we started, I was telling you about my journey of wanting to be a brain surgeon. And even until this day, even though I didn't become one, I study a lot with the brain. And I don't think people really realize how the brain is just as important as your heart. And a lot
Yes.
of times you can control your heart with your brain, and it's dependent on your mentality, on your way of thinking.
Yes, yes, that is so true. And that is the only reason why I can walk today. That is the only reason why. Because I went from a point of being almost, because of the health disparity in the 13 years, my symptoms were cumulative, and it was almost to a point where I couldn't walk.
Mm,
And I think the turning point for me was saying, like, okay, I do have something. Whatever it is, I might not know what it is, but I'm going to fight. And then my
mhm.
mind, I started practicing mindfulness,
Yeah,
meditating. And I got there's something called The Secret. I got that and started listening to
yes.
it. And I started practicing some of the practices, like um, getting affirmations out the Bible and applying them to real world, they just applying it to real world things that I was going through, and just trying to speak life into myself. And
Mm,
of course, I had to, this is not religious at all, but I had to rely on Beyonce's music because they have a cadence, right? And that was very good for rehabbing me, because I would work out to that cadence, and like it would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and I got my ability to walk back.
wow. Yeah, and then if people really realize the control that they can have within their brain and how much they could thrive in life,
Yes.
when they have some sort of control, they could bring a lot of the prayers that they pray into reality.
Yes, yes. I mean, I really have visualized, I really walked, when I say I walked into my vision of being able to walk, I actually did that. And I
I
would
believe
like,
it.
what'd you say?
I said I believe it.
Every day I literally, like, I would visualize myself sashaying into the room. And I
Mhm.
finally was able to sashay. And it was so funny. My husband and I were working together in Missouri at the time that I started to be able to walk again, but he didn't know I could walk without assisted devices. And because the doctor wouldn't let me drive. And so I was riding with him to work one day, and I was using a cane to get into the office, or a walker. And so I left my walking device in the car, and I had my little heels, and I started walking into the office. And Wallace, my husband, was like, where's your where's your stuff? I said, I don't need it. And I was just able to walk. It was just a miracle.
Wow, that is amazing. So, can
Yeah.
you tell us about the Thriving Brain and Development Project? What inspired you to start this nonprofit, and what impact do you hope to achieve?
So the I won't name the person that inspired me to start this project, but this person is very near and dear to me, and they are in the world of like nonprofits, and so they said, well, you're doing the work. You just need to like solidify it. You need a foundation to retain funding for the work you're doing, because you're funding it yourself, or either you're doing it out the goodness of your heart, and you just need some more help, some more capacity.
Mhm.
And so I thought, for years I've grappled with doing a nonprofit, but I didn't want to do it. So like for the last 4 years, I've been grappling with this. But recently, right before Christmas holiday, she told me I needed to do it, right? And I seriously thought about it, and I got it up and running in 2 to 3 weeks. Like I got nonprofit status in about 2 weeks, and
Mhm.
I got my 501(c) in like 2 more weeks.
Wow. That means it was meant.
Yes, 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 yes,
It was meant. It was already aligned for you. You just had to do
yes,
it.
yes. And I was getting close to getting, like, at the end of the year is a good time to position yourself for donations. But I
Mhm.
was just so fatigued because I'm also advocating for my son's education as well. He's in a program nationally to
Okay.
compete, to go to independent school. And so, like, I'm trying to advocate for him. I'm like, I have no other capacity to advocate for anybody else. And that's also part of brain health, knowing your limits.
Yes, that is so
Yes,
true. That is
yes,
so true. So
yes,
you've been a strong advocate for health equality, and especially when it comes to genetic testing for
yes.
Parkinson's disease. What are some of the barriers you see in getting people into underserved communities involved in these programs?
The horrible history that we have with the medical community. And I can't say that that is not without reason, because I've endured that, for 13 years, going from doctor to doctor, and they're like, there's nothing wrong with you, because
Mm.
I really look like I'm very physically fit, and I used to look a little bit better, so it's a little bit worse for me, but that's really hard to push through, the doctor saying there's nothing wrong with you, and that there is something wrong with you. You feel kind of like they're trying to say I'm crazy, but I know I'm not. And so that's a hard thing to push through, and it's very humbling, and sometimes it creates such a void in us that it makes us mute. It makes us
Oh,
not push forward,
it does.
and it's so sad. And so I don't know if you know, but one of the symptoms that people with Parkinson's have is that they can have a masked face, and with their
Mm.
face being masked, it shows no emotion. And then, so that the doctors also perceive you as being rude or something, a little it's like a microaggression that they could attribute to your personality. That's also some problems that we have. So it leads us not to go into the medical offices or just ask for help. And so, I mean, I even find that now, even though I'm an advocate, I limit my interaction with the doctors, only it's need basis. Like, if I don't need to go, I'm not going, right? And
Right.
so, those are the things that we have to overcome in dealing with, us not wanting to be genetically tested. And just, what are they going to do with the information? That's another thing. But the cool thing about the genetic test that I was advocating for is that Dr. Chantel Branson and Morehouse was heavily working with this outreach effort to get underserved communities in for genetic testing for Parkinson's. So if you have Parkinson's, you could get genetically tested. And the benefit of getting genetically tested is that if you do have Parkinson's and they see that you have a mutation or of some sort, you get genetic counseling. And that is huge. I know when I was pregnant with my son, that was very difficult for me to acquire on my own with my insurance. It was not a difficult thing, but the doctor gave me so much trouble to get it. And so he gave me so much trouble that I had to call in a Blue Cross Blue Shield nurse. That they have nurses that work with
Yeah.
people that have special illnesses, and I had to get some support. So,
Wow.
I say that to say that there's so many adversities concerning genetic testing, but there's also the benefits of, like, this one genetic test that you can have for Parkinson's, and it could be a lifesaver. I found out I have a genetic mutation, and I have somebody else in my family that has it.
Wow. Man, I never know, huh?
Yes, but it's helpful because it kind of like lets you know how to plan.
Mhm. Yes,
Yeah,
that is true. That is
yeah.
so true. So what incentives or workshops are you currently offering through the Thriving brand that you have?
Well, since I just started the nonprofit in like the end of November, December,
Mhm.
um, I'm building capacity for it, and it doesn't. I mean, I think that I'm almost there. In
Okay.
April, I'm going to start my podcast series, right?
Okay.
And I'm so excited to have Chef Tracy Vincent Drouillet from Louisiana to provide meals for us. She's going to provide virtual cooking classes, and her class is Cooking by Tracy. And she is Creole, so those meals are going to be fire, and
Yes.
they are very usually plant-based or very healthy. She used to work on the Hill with policy, but she's turned a chef. She's turned into a chef, and she's phenomenal. I had her to cater my microgreen party because I was selling microgreens, and she made some meals with that. It was just delightful. So I'm so excited. And so I'm just going to put in a little plug. I hope to get some sponsors that will help us with the meal prep so we can send meal prep materials out, because I don't know if you know, but this effort and this featuring her is huge, because think back to brain health. I had brain surgery about 6 years ago.
Wow.
And things that I didn't struggle with before, I struggle with now, like the multitasking. And so in like paper, like forms and paperwork makes my brain so tired I have to take a nap after, or like cooking, things like that. That's very intense for me. I love to cook, but the multi-step actions are very difficult. So when people have something like Parkinson's or MS, it could be very fatiguing to cook. And so if they have help, like recipes already there that are easy to put together, and meal prep supplies that are already at their doorstep, that would be such a blessing to them.
Wow. So you're in the process of rebranding your personal brand.
Yes.
How did your experiences with wellness and CBD products inspire the journey to wellness and personal care industry?
Okay, so I kind of, I didn't really ever think that I would dive into selling products because I'm not really a salesperson. I used to hate selling Girl Scout cookies, by the way, hate it. But I found that working with a real estate agent over like 15 years that, like she said that I gave her the most referrals. So like if I believe in something, I definitely can talk it up, right? And so one of the products that I used when I was having the most pain with my shoulder before I had shoulder surgery, I couldn't even sleep, but it was a CBD rub and it was amazing. And so that sent me on a quest to research these companies and try to find a company that was the most sustainable and use clean ingredients or organic ingredients. And I kind of formed a rapport with certain companies. And I have 2 companies that I have a rapport with, but one of those companies, I'm going to move forward with developing a product for facial serum, because I'm at that stage. I don't want, I want to keep it snatched. And so that's kind of how I dove into it, because like if I have a product that I totally believe in, I could surely share with the world in a way that it could be passive for my passive income for me.
Well, one thing I can say, you look good.
Thank you.
You definitely do. So you
Thank you.
experiences challenges both personally and professionally.
Mhm.
How do you prioritize self-care and mental health while managing your busy schedule?
So that's been something that has been difficult for me. And I think it's difficult for most women. So I just had to say enough is enough, because I mean, I do a lot of managing at home. And like I'm the disciplinarian. Like I'm the one that's like, okay, we have a schedule. We have to have a schedule, people. Come on. We can't just go through life just, oh, I'll do this time. And no, we can't, because that's not real life, right? I would love to live my life like that, but we can't. I want to teach my child to be like disciplined and be able to be productive, right? And so it's very hard to work and be regimented, and especially when you're doing like your own business brand, you're trying to brand yourself. That is very hard to be at home and do the same thing. It's just like I just need a break, right? And so I just started implementing things that would be easy for me. They might they might like hit my husband's pocketbook, but it's what it is. So like I would get somebody to come in to help clean every so often, so at least I can have a break. And I do my own, I still clean, but at least help with the flow of the house, right? So we could keep it in order. Or I would like when my husband travels a lot, sometimes he goes to fight fire in California, in different places. And so when he goes, I don't cook. I just get somebody to help me prepare the meals, right? I have a sorority sister. She's a chef, and she prepares some meals for us, and she packages them, and my child will eat them as long as he doesn't know that they come from somebody else.
Right.
Whatever works, right?
Yes.
So I'm just like, though I find little time, and also I haven't done this in a while, but I call it my fed up trip, right? When I can't take it anymore and nobody's doing anything in the house, I go to a hotel and chill out and go swimming. And then the hotel is like 15, 30 minutes away. It's very close. But I just go to a hotel and have me time.
Hey, girl, you better do that me time.
And I'll tell you one other thing I've just started doing, and I love it. And shout out to Solaris videos. I have started taking twerk Tabata classes. It has given me my life back, my whole life. It is so empowering. I never would have thought that it would be so empowering. I take the heel class on Friday. It's like a sensual heel class. There is power in being feminine. There's power in our fluidity. I mean, it's a safe place, a safe zone. We are a very supportive community. I have made friends in the class. Now we go out to eat. My people in the house don't like Mexican food. I love it. And so now I have people to go eat Mexican food with. It's just the greatest thing ever.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Yes.
Thank you. That is really good. I love that.
Yes.
How has your faith played a role in your journey of resilience, self-discovery, and advocacy?
That is huge because growing up with a grandmother that was very faith oriented, my mom's mom was very faithful. She was so devout. I mean, like to the end of her life, she was always in church every Sunday. But then her beliefs in church were exuded outside of church. She would always serve. She's the one that would take me to people's houses and we would clean up their houses together. And so she would do her nursing work and I would just clean up. And so that's where my faith was developed. And so because it was developed so strongly, I refused to believe that I was going to be a victim of Parkinson's or young onset Parkinson's at 21 or whatever age. Like I knew something was going on and I refused to be a victim of it. And I just knew that all I had to do was fight and visualize what I wanted for myself. So everything in my life always comes back to the faith walk. Even if I'm not personally in church every Sunday, it goes back to that faith walk.
Wow, that is so good. And you know, a lot of times people take faith for granted because they don't understand that how God really just navigate us through life itself. We need to appreciate it more.
Yes. And I do want to say something else. You know, I did make mention of the genetic testing revealing that I do have someone else in my family that has Parkinson's, and I'm going to be respectful of their journey. But like, I just want to say that I am very strategic about everything I do. Not that, I mean, I just want to share this, but I'm very strategic about everything I do. And for like when I'm dead and gone, I just want to make sure that my child is taken care of, my husband is taken care of, and also that person in my family that does not have the successful outcome that I've had, because our paths are very different, and we're very close in age, but I have done quite well with my Parkinson's, and this person ends up in and out of the hospital a lot, and so I need them to be okay. So that's what I do. This is why I do what I do, and to help the people that are voiceless.
Right. Wow. Prayers to them.
Yes.
You know, if you don't mind, can I say encouraging words for them?
Yes, you can.
I just feel like for them to actually just live the moment and think positive. Thinking positive and loving on yourself, and also just embrace the people that are in your life that do love you and care about you, even though it's hard for, you know, themselves to actually get through the daily basis, and no one knows the experiences that's going on in their mind and how they
Yeah,
feel. But I do encourage you to accept the love and the passion that is around you.
that's huge. That is definitely, that's right on point. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, because sometimes it could be hard because we really don't understand, because
Yeah,
we're not feeling it when it's to a certain extent. Like, you both may have the same thing, but like you said, it's different experiences.
yes,
So it's different feelings and everything. But at the same time, it's very rare for someone to have someone in a life to actually help them, because it's many people that are alone and going through things alone.
that's true. Definitely, definitely.
Yes, for sure. If you could go back to the younger self, one piece of advice, that what would it be?
Slow down and enjoy the successes.
Yes.
Yes, don't worry about anything else. Just slow down. You're doing good. Just enjoy the successes. And
Yes.
even the failures. Like I've had, I mean, not tremendous failures, but like I remember when I switched my major because I started off in physical therapy and I ended up switching it to environmental management. That wasn't a failure at all. I mean, like it was just a transition, and that's what life
Mhm.
is about: transitions and overcoming the peaks and valleys. Are being able to persevere the peaks and valleys of the transitions.
Yes, because if one thing don't work, something else will. It,
Absolutely,
it's just you keep going. And
yes,
some people could be so judgmental when they see you in a process of discovering self.
yes.
And sometimes we really have to think like they don't even know they dangle self. So how you gonna tell me about me?
Yes,
You
I
don't
mean
even know
because
who you are. And we
no,
have to get ourselves away from that, um of listening to people's opinions, when behind closed doors with them dealing with they self could be a lot worse than what we're going through.
that's a good point. And opinions of people from the outside, you have to think about it in perspective. A lot of times, people's negative opinions of you come from a place of fear. I mean,
Yeah,
I know
and
that when
in a reflection of themselves.
yes. And so like maybe when I started this venture, I didn't have the support I thought I would get because it was a fear of me going out doing something new. They were like, okay, this is uncharted waters for her. She might fail. Like this is bad. This could be bad. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't fail. I'm not gonna fail. No is not an answer. I mean, I'm gonna keep persevering.
Yes, on the other side of fear is success.
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely. So what does thriving mean to you in context of the brain health and personal growth?
So that's interesting because thriving means to be able to have some tools in your toolbox that you can use to empower yourself. And that's the thing I think we're missing in the brain health world. Like everybody's got these self-help guides, you do this and you're going to be better. But that
Yeah.
people just need a set of tools that they can just pull out and say, hey, this is what I'm going to use. And just start small.
Mm, yes.
Yeah.
So your journey has been filled with resilience, triumph, and advocacy. When you reflect on your path, what legacy do you hope to leave behind?
So this is hard for me to say, but I'm going to tell you what my son told me when we were going through this application process for these schools, and I was floored. So, when he was in first grade, is when I had the brain surgery, and he has some learning differences.
Hmm.
And he struggled a lot with the learning differences, but they probably would have gone undetected if I hadn't have had a close relationship with him and been very observant of him. But when we were kind of like unveiling these learning differences, it was kind of like when he was in third grade and we got
Mm.
him evaluated and got him the support he needed. But I was working with him prior to that because I'm innovative and I was like, something's up and I'm going to just do this and experiment and see if it works. Right. And so he told me that when I had brain surgery, he was observing how I recovered, my recovery process. He said the first week I had a lot of trouble moving because my body was really heavy and it was just like trying to heal. And the first week I went outside and I just kind of walked the first block. In the second week, I was like walking the second block. Third week, I was probably jogging and running the whole neighborhood. Third or fourth week, I was running the whole neighborhood. Wow. And my son saw that and he was just like, if mommy can fight, I can fight. And I'm going to work hard to push through my learning differences. And he has done extraordinarily well.
Wow.
And that was very emotional for me to hear that. He was watching me.
You know, you never know who's watching you. That's for sure.
Be good or they could be bad.
Yes. So how can our listeners support your advocacy efforts and connect with your work through the Thriving Brain Project and the Alley Creative LLC?
So they can go to the TBD projectinc.org website. You see that? Tyaisha Dillon TBD.
Yeah.
But I was like a little play on words. But they can go to that website and get information. And they can even type in probably the Thriving Brain and it'll pop up.
Okay.
So, and they can send me a note if they're interested in volunteering because it's new and there's a lot of work to do. So if you have any skills in podcasting, any skills in if there's a subject matter you want us to cover, I am open. We can check your story out, but it will feature not just food or meal production, but it'll also feature so when you have a brain health issue, you still want to look good. You have to stand up in the mirror and comb your hair, right? Sometimes that might be difficult for people because of dexterity and things like that. So what are things that we do to manage to keep it sexy and cute, but still, vibrant through our brain health issue?
Yeah.
Those are all pertinent issues. And I just want to say one thing. So after I had my son, I realized that there was something I wanted to work on, my confidence, right? Because, with brain health issues, you don't know if it's going to affect your speech. And I've had speech issues at certain times that I've had to work through after the brain surgery. So I decided to take improv classes. That was my first step to pushing through. And because, brain health issues you don't know what will come up at any time. So improv is the same thing, responding to things that you don't know might occur, right? So I thought that would help. And that did. It was lovely. I loved it.
Wow.
And then, of course, I also told you the dance classes is another way I gave myself confidence.
Wow. That is amazing. Well, I really appreciate you. Before we also ended, do you have any social media handles?
Yes.
That anybody can follow you?
At TBDILLON. That's my Instagram.
Okay.
And then also my Facebook is, I think, Tyaisha.Dillon.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I love this conversation. I love what you're doing. And I wish you nothing but wellness.
I appreciate it. And the call to action would be definitely, could you go to the TBD Project Inc. TBD Project Inc.org website and just volunteer or donate your time.
Yes, definitely.
Yes,
thank you. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to Life Her Podcast.
Yes.
Make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube and also listen to us on audio on all major platforms. Be blessed.
Welcome to Life Her Podcast, the podcast that guides you from the 9-to-5 grind to the freedom of your own path. Discover how to conquer life's challenges while pursuing your passions with unwavering faith. Because being an entrepreneur is not easy. So let's get to it.